All right, hello. We have one more tutorial for this, for those who it might be helpful for. For this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to play Valorant. No, I'm just kidding. I added some features to the real-time top-down combat system last night, and because they're super quick and easy, I'm just going to share what I did, and then I'm going to say how I did them. So yeah, I added some sound effects when you walk over an item. It makes a sound when you attack enemies. It makes a sound, and then when you get hit, it makes a sound and knocks you back a little bit. So just makes it feel a little bit more alive. I also made it so that if you collect three coins or three of anything, or any number of anything, you can set a win condition. So right now in the debug log, it said you win when I collected 3 coins, but that could be like changing to the next level or popping up a screen that says you win or whatever you want. And then as far as combat goes, I made it so that the projectile is shot out on an animation event on the frame where it actually makes sense to shoot it out instead of at the beginning. So this slows it down so that you can't just spam them infinitely. It also looks a lot better when it goes out when I actually bring my sword down. And it would look even better if I actually had like a fire sword slash projectile, but that's fine. And then I also made it so that you can't move when you attack. So overall, feels a lot better to play. Also made it so that the enemies actually flip when they are going in a different direction, which I realized we didn't do that before. So that's what I did. Starting with the weapon stuff, if I go to my weapon script, instead of calling the fire ammo method on get mouse button down, we want to call it on an animation event. So I commented it out here. And then if I go to my player prefab, and click on my player and press Control 6 and then go to any of the attack animations. We're going to use an animation event. So go to the frame where you want the projectile to spawn, and on that frame, click on this white rectangle with a plus, and then that'll add an event. And then in the function dropdown, go to Weapon, Methods, Fire Ammo, and then do that for all of your attack animations. Now it's going to spawn from there and feel a lot better. If we want the player not to move when he fires it, then we are going to have to make a bool. And while this bool is true, then we will not be moving. So I made a public bool is firing, or we might have already had that bool. So we're going to use that. And when we attack, that's set to true. And before we set it back to false immediately right here, so before it looked like this, that's where we set it to false, but I got rid of that because we want it to last for the entire animation. So we're going to set it to false on another animation event. So I created this method, void on attack end, where is firing equals false, and I'm going to put this in the folder as usual. And then on the last frame of all our animations, we just do the same thing we just did. We add an event, but this time we call on attack end, and we do that for all 4 of the attack animations. Now when the animation's done playing, that's when the bool is going to be set to false and movement will be returned to our player. We are canceling movement the same way that we do for whenever a window is open. On our game manager script, I added another condition to making the player not able to move. Right here at the end, I just added, remember these 2 things mean or weapon.instance is firing is true. So if is firing is true, we can't move. To gain access to this bool though, we do have to make the weapon class an instance. So back in the weapon class at the very top, I have a public static weapon instance, and we're going to set that to this in the start function. So add this line, instance equals this, which basically means this instance of the component, which is going to be on our player, which is our only player. So this will be the only instance of this that we'll ever need. And then that will theoretically work. But when I tried it, if you spam the mouse button down, Sometimes if you are clicking while you're on this frame, it'll set the bool to true when it's supposed to be false. So we'll permanently be stuck not being able to move. So in order to do that, I created another bool called can attack right here. I added this bool, and that's going to set a timer for when we attack and until we can attack again. So when we call our attack, make sure that you put that inside an if statement, that we can only attack if can attack is true. And then we're going to start this coroutine. We start our animation up here, and then I added this line where we start a new coroutine attack timer, and that's down here. And basically this is just setting can attack to false, and we wait for the duration of the attack. My attack is 1 second, so we wait for 1.1 seconds, and then only after that timer is done can we attack again. So after I added that, it works smoothly, player stops perfectly, and that's all good. So next, I'll talk about how how the audio manager that we made can be used to easily add sound effects. In our audio manager, I had 2 empty game objects, one for background music, one for sound effects. In my sound effects, I made some children objects and added an audio source to them. And then these audio sources are, how they're named. So basically, I have a script for sound, and then I just dragged in an audio clip into the audio clip field and adjusted the volume. So once you have all the sound effects you want on the parent object, make some fields for them under the sound effects header and drag them from here to there. And just take note of what their index number is, because that's how we're going to refer to them in code. So let's say, for example, I want to play this hit sound when an enemy is hit. In my code, I would go to the enemy script where the enemy gets damaged, which is right here, and I would call this audiomanager.instance.play sound effects. And I'm actually going to play the third one, which is enemy hit sound. And it's that easy. So I did the same thing for my player with the index 0. And I also re-enabled this flash effect because it makes it look a lot more bold. And that's basically it. Also, if you want to do it when you pick up items, then I just, up here on the player script, I called, where did I do that? On trigger, enter, right here. Audio manager, another instance, play sound effects. So it's so easy to play sound effects. As far as the win condition goes, I added that to the inventory script. Right here where it says add item, it's going to check. This is the new code that I added, which basically checks if the item that we just added to our inventory has a quantity of greater than or equal to 3 or whatever you want it to be. And then it'll play whatever you put here. Theoretically, you could switch the num slots up here to like 1. And if the player collects however many gems, however many coins, then they can win the game or go to the next level. So you could do a lot with that. As far as let's go to the enemy prefab for making the enemy flip around. If you were making a really long scalable game, you'd probably want to use blend trees similar to how we do with the player so that they could be flipped in all 4 directions. I just added this flip enemy AI script, which is going to be in the folder, to my enemy prefab, which I basically just asked ChatGPT to make that. It was midnight. I wasn't really going to be fooling around with that for too long. So it works fine. So all good there. And then for the knockback, I added a knockback script to the player, which looks like this, which basically just shoots the player's rigid body in the opposite direction of the enemy, or a decaying level of force that you set with this knockback curve here. Yeah, so with all that makes it feel a lot better to play. I think I'm going to move on from this now because theoretically you could add anything There's an infinite amount of things you can add, but I think it looks good for now. So that'll be it for now.